For this Crowcastle guide, I have picked 5 game mechanics that I feel like are either poorly explained or not explained at all in the game, and I feel like they are things that everybody playing the game should know, including things that will affect you earning gold and also making your dragon farming a little bit faster and so on. So take a seat, grab a drink, and get ready to take some notes. Our first game mechanic of the day is about the Monsterlab, and now it's an easily missable thing that you can set the weaknesses in your Monsterlab for monsters individually for each of your decks from 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And how exactly does this work is that the first time you set a weakness in your Monsterlab, it will be set to each and every one of these decks. So if you go for the first time and set the weakness of the slime to be a physical damage for the physical summon meta waving build, it will then be the physical damage weakness for each of your decks from 1 to 5. So for example, if you then go to deck 2 and go to the Monsterlab, you can select a, let's say, critical damage weakness for your slime, and at that point you will have a critical damage weakness for your deck 2 for the slime, and for the deck 1 you will have a physical damage weakness still. After that, things get a little bit more complicated now. The first time you set weakness, it will be set to all of your decks, right? And after that, if you change the weakness of the monster in the Monsterlab while you are at your deck 1, it will then also get changed to every single other deck that you have not previously individually set a weakness for that monster. So for example, if we just first time picked physical damage for all of our monsters, so for the slime for example, then we went to the deck 2 and picked critical damage for the slime. So if we now went to the deck 1 and changed the weakness of the slime from physical damage to, let's say, fire damage for example, it would then change from physical damage to fire damage for deck 1, 3, 4 and 5, since we haven't touched deck 3, 4 and 5 yet individually. But since we already picked a critical damage weakness for the deck 2 for the slime, it will remain as critical damage for that deck. So make sure that your monster weaknesses are set correctly for each of your decks, especially if you have made changes to the deck 1 weaknesses, since that can potentially override your previous set weaknesses if you haven't individually set a weakness for that specific monster for that specific deck yet. And next, let's talk about your profits, shall we? Because those are always super important. And I want to talk about your Autobattle hours, your precious time Autobattle hours. And the key element you should know is that time Autobattle hours are spent always based on real life time. So 1 hour of time Autobattle always equals 1 hour of real life time, no matter what happens inside the game, you know? And the key element I want you to pick from this is that it's beneficial for you to try to boost your in-game speed while you are using your time Autobattle, which is why every time you are using time Autobattle, you should try to use, if possible, the 3x game speed, because that will enable you to clear more waves per hour, which means more profit from your time Autobattle hours. Like compared to the 2x game speed, you will get roughly 50% more waves done within the same time frame, which always, of course, equals more profit. And also for that same reason, you should always try to include your hero Chrono in your build, because also Chrono makes your game speed faster, which again makes you be able to clear more waves within that hour, and thus enable you to get more profit from those precious little scarce Autobattle hours. And another things you can use to boost that is the horn from the treasures. The monsters will appear 10% faster, and if you have purchased the golden horn, which you can turn on and off, that also will help you to clear waves faster within that same time frame. Our third game mechanic of the day involves Assassin and Rogue, and this is a thing I see causing confusion amongst new players basically on daily basis. So what I want to talk about is how their abilities work. So let's see Assassin first. So he has a slash that attacks all monsters on screen, but we want to concentrate on this critical damage ability. So this critical damage ability gives monsters on hit a debuff that makes them take plus 300% more damage on the next critical strike. Now, who deals this critical strike is up to who gets the first hit in. So it can be the Dark Assassin or it can be any other unit. But what's more important is that this debuff of the plus 300% damage on the next critical strike is applied not only by the slash that attacks all monsters on screen, but also for every single basic attack the Dark Assassin does. Which is also why Dark Assassin is great as a support unit against strong monsters like dragons, for example, because every single basic attack will also apply this critical damage buff to the enemy. And then next we have Rogue. Now, similar to Dark Assassin, Rogue has some attacks. He has attack that attacks 5 monsters on screen with a cooldown, and also he has a basic attack. And then he has, in the gold promotion, he has the Gold Steel ability. Now, this wording can be a little bit confusing. Rogue eats Shadow steals gold 40% of the damage. Now, you can easily think that only the shadows will steal gold 40% of the damage dealt. But what this means is actually that both Rogue and the shadows will steal that gold for every hit. So every time the shadows are cast, gold will be steal, and also every time the Rogue does a normal attack, that will also apply the Gold Steal ability. This next game mechanic, or maybe rather a tip, can potentially make your dragon farming a little bit faster. Now, you see, when you battle a dragon and you fight it, you will be able to fight it at your full game speed, the max game speed you have, and the chest will open at max game speed you have. But once the chest opens and the item emerges from the chest, the game will temporarily be put to 1x game speed, and that's a little bit slow. Now, there are 2 ways that you can speed up the item floating away from the chest, making your kill time a little bit faster if you're seriously farming the dragons. And the number 1 thing you can do is, once the dragon is dead and the timer ends, if your chrono is available, if you tap chrono, immediately once the timer runs out, the game will be put back to the maximum game speed again, and the item will appear faster, making you able to start the next battle a little bit faster. The same thing can be done by tapping the game speed button from the bottom left side of your screen once the timer from the chest runs out. You have to do at least a double tap, like this, because the first tap will set the game speed to 1 times what it is currently while the item is emerging from the chest, and once you do another tap, it will be then set to 2x time, and if you are using a 3x game speed, you can do a triple tap and pump it up all the way to 3x game speed. So that's another way to make it a little bit faster. Let me show this to you again. So once the timer runs out, I will double tap the icon, and it will emerge a little bit faster compared to if I do not tap anything. You can see the item is emerging a little bit slower from the chest. So this is a way you can simply speed up your process a little bit while farming the dragon, and maybe be able to get a little bit more kills in per hour, potentially making you able to find that extremely rare item you are looking for. And our last game mechanic of the day, I feel like is not properly explained, is about our golden tree. So we are talking about our profits again. So golden tree will award you with gold every time you have killed enough monsters, right? And what you want to know about this is that the amount of gold you get from golden tree is not counted as gold earned from the monsters from wave, which means that when you are using the worthless coin for free Autobattle, normally it says you cannot earn any gold, so you can't get any gold from the monsters from the wave. Your income will be 0 from the wave. But because golden tree gold is not considered as a gold earned from the monsters from the wave, but it's rather awarded after you have killed enough monsters, it will be able to give you gold even when used with the free Autobattle with the worthless coin. So make sure to include the golden tree in your every single waving build, whether you are using free Autobattle, gold Autobattle, or time Autobattle. The golden tree will give you gold in all of these 3 options. I would love to know if there are any other poorly explained game mechanics you feel like you learned way too late in the game, so make sure to leave them down in the comment section down below.